It's one thing that you can get from, from guys like Nas, who can tell a story and can be extremely compelling. And in the Wall Street Journal article, he made this album called Hip Hop is Dead, and then he had this song that was his closing argument called Hope. And in it, he didn't argue. He didn't try and argue with you why hip hop is dead or what it used to be compared to what it is. He just went back and told a story about when he was 9 years old, what it was. And that was the strongest argument he could have ever made. And that's what a story is about. It's something that everybody can connect to, where you get the emotional connection, you really feel why you're there. And then that's what makes people get up in the morning and go do stuff, like that emotional connection to what you're talking about. And what is the strategy? The strategy is a story. They're not actually different. People think there's some kind of strategic planning exercise that you do, and you get together and you get a bunch of guys from McKinsey or Harvard MBAs and they draw on the board and then oh, that's a strategy. That's not the fucking strategy. The strategy is the story that you tell about why do we need to exist? Why does this company exist? Why are we in the world? The why. Why do we do what we do? Why is it important? That's the story. And if you can't tell that, and if you can't tell that in a massively compelling way, who's going to join you? Who's going to follow you? Who's going to go build it? Who's going to go do it? So, if you're a CEO and you're oh, I'm not very good at telling stories, that's not a good thing. That's a very bad thing. You have to be, and look, the story doesn't have to come entirely from you. But you've got to be the keeper of the vision. You've got to be the one who says, okay, who are we? And you've got to get that out of the company if it's in the company, and you've got to make sure that it's articulated extremely well. And if you look at the great kind of CEOs in technology, they're all quite good at this. You think Steve Jobs was no good at telling stories? I got in an argument with somebody on Twitter just yesterday. And they were oh no, it's all about the product. Storytelling doesn't matter. I'm you don't get to a good product if you can't tell a good story. It's part of it, because you have to say why are we building this product? That's a story. And the story in good companies, the story and the strategy are identical. And one big mistake people make is they don't spend enough time working on the story of the company. They neglect it. They say, I'm too busy for that. It's not something in my day. I'm taking incoming. People are calling me. I'm doing other people's agenda. I'm not doing my agenda. My agenda is I'm going to explain to everyone why we're here and where we're going. And that's what CEOs do. And if you don't do that, you're really not going to be a very effective leader. So it's a really, really important point.